Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another FIFA 21 video where today we're going to be checking out a formation that I actually don't think we've covered all year. Now, considering we are one of the main formation guys in the community, we haven't actually covered the 4-3-2-1, I don't think at all this year. This was my favorite formation last year in FIFA 20. But this year, I haven't used it too much. I've had other formations that have just taken my fancy and I just prefer using and I just think are better. But I haven't had too much experience with this formation. So I thought, you know what? It's the end of the year. It's near the end of the FIFA cycle. Let me try out this formation and see how it goes for me. So today I'm going to be sharing with you the tactics and instructions that I used for this 4-3-2-1 formation. So if you're a fan of this formation, you've got your tactics and instructions finally nearly in June. So without further ado, going into the tactics, these are the tactics that I settled on. Now, the thing is, what I found was best with this formation was actually to play with it quite standard. Now, defensive style doesn't really work in terms of anything other than balanced. This is not the best formation in terms of for FIFA, for effectiveness in FIFA, this isn't the best. You know, it doesn't have a DM, it doesn't have a cam, and I think they're really important in FIFA, especially FIFA this year. I think you need to have at least one DM and a cam in a formation. I think you'll find the best formations are the formations that have cams and DMs, or that have the ability to play as a cam or a DM, and this doesn't really have that in either sense. So with that, without further ado, defensive style, I think balance is the way to go. I don't think this is a formation you can press in and press well in. I just think there's too many spaces, whether it's the cam spot, whether it's the DM spot. You don't have any width in the team, so you can just chip balls out to your opponent's fullbacks without any pressure. So balanced has to be the way you have to play. Defensive width, pretty standard as always. Now depth, this is where it's changed a little bit. Now I usually play on around 7 or 8. For this formation, I had to play on 6 because, again, it's not the best in terms of defensive, not necessarily it's defensive shape is where it's not a great formation. Again, because you don't have a DM, because you have sort of a flat back four, flat midfield, flat up top. It's just everywhere is very flat. So there's lots of spaces in between the lines. So if your opponent has a cam, you don't have a DM to mark. So you either have to pull one of your midfielders back or pull one of your centre backs out. Again, your opponent, if he's got a DM, you don't have a cam to press him. You have to drag one of your midfielders forward or one of your strikers back. So it's not the best formation in terms of defensive structure. So for that, I don't want to be too high on my depth because I'm going to be pulling players out left, right and centre. So just playing a little bit conservative on the depth. In terms of the offensive style, long ball is the only way you can play this formation. Fast build up, something that I love playing in my 4-2-2-2. 4-4-1-1. In this formation, it was terrible. It just didn't work. And again, because the structure of this team isn't brilliant in the first place, fast build just made everything 10 times worse. It just pulled players out, just God knows where. Like my right back was up at left striker, and my centre mid was at centre forward, and it wasn't good. It just didn't work. So long ball has to be the way you play. You got 3 strikers up top. Make sure those 3 strikers are quick. Obviously, that's where most people are going to have quick strikers anyway. But the quick strikers in behind, 3 strikers, is really going to make a pain. It does make a big pain for your opponents because 3 strikers up against 2 centre-backs, because the left and right mids are quite wide. The left and right backs are quite wide, so the left and right forwards don't really attract to the left and right backs. They're more on the centre-backs, so it creates a bit of an overload in the middle of the pitch. So as long as you play to your strengths, the long ball and in behind and against with your strikers, you'll have big success with this formation. In terms of offensive width, again, a little bit boring, you might say, as you can see with the way we've got it set up. But I think this is the way you have to play with this formation. You know, again, you've chosen to play the 4-3-2-1, and it's not a wide formation. It's a narrow formation. So you have to play to the strengths of the formation you've selected to play. Now, you can see in some of the formations, for example, the 4-4-1-1, we decide to play on 10 width. And that's because you can't get the left and right mids involved in the attack, so you may as well use them as decoys. In this formation, you've chosen your left and right forwards, which are essentially 3 strikers, so you need to keep them narrow. There's no point sticking them on 10 width, because all that's going to do as well is open up your midfield as well as your attack, and your formation is going to be so wide. And you do this, you are so easy to play through, you may as well not even be holding your controller. That's how easy it's going to be for your opponent. So you have to just keep it standard. Around about 4, anywhere from 4 to 6, I would recommend. You can experiment with that yourself. I decided to keep it on 5. and then players in the box, corners, and free kicks. So very standard in terms of the way our tactics are set. In terms of the instructions, Yashin is an absolutely amazing goalkeeper, by the way. Comes for crosses and sweep keeper, pretty standard for those guys. The fullbacks, of course, in this formation, they need to be on stay back while attacking, conservative inceptions and overlap. Again, you don't want these guys. And your centre backs as well, they also want to be on conservative. You really don't want that back four to be lunging into tackles. Normally, if you have sort of DMs and stuff, you can afford it. But we get around this problem with one of the midfielders and where we have them set up. But you can't really afford these guys to be jumping in tackles. Now, we do have width going forwards with Dalglish and Cruyff. They will provide some width, so we don't really need Alexander-Arnold and Mbabu to go forwards. Plus, this formation, again, as we said before, structurally, defensively isn't the best, so I kind of want to just keep those fullbacks back. Now, Frenkie de Jong, our central midfielder. Now, the way we play with him is we play with him on drop between defenders. So, when we are defending, he will drop in and it will kind of make a 5-back. So, when our opponent is on a counter-attack, de Jong is going to be part of the back four. So, instead of pulling out Van Dijk, Tapsoba, Alexander-Arnold or Mbabu, we can pull out de Jong from that back 5. And we still got the back 4 as we defend, but we can now pull de Jong out. So, we're always going to have at least one player back who we can use to drag out and press the ball, rather than dragging out Van Dijk, and creating potentially a 1-2 opportunity for your opponent, or dragging out Alexander-Arnold for a punt up the wing. We can drag de Jong out, and de Jong can then do the tackling whilst our back 4 stays in place. So this was really, really effective, and it works super, super well. And I think drop between defenders is one of the only times it works is with this formation, as I've done in previous FIFAs, and it works super, super well. It's very, very effective. So if you're someone who likes to drag players out, you've got a player who you can do it with and not harm yourself defensively. Two outside midfielders, Kimmich and Messi, both on balanced attack. The reason why these are both on balance is because if we had these guys on stay back while attacking, for example, you're basically just having 3 strikers up top, and it's just going to be impossible to get to the ball to them because you're going to be sort of 40 yards away to try and get the ball up to them. So it's just not going to work. You have to have these guys on balance. But because we've got de Jong on drop between defenders and the back 4 is all staying back, that should be enough to deal with any counter-attacks and things like that. So then Messi and Kimmich can go forwards. The only downside you'll have is possession in midfield is going to be quite limited because it's going to be quite open. Again, because you don't have a cam, you don't have a DM, the starting positions when Kimmich and Messi go forwards, de Jong is back in the back 5, there's going to be a large gap for your opponent. So you've got to accept that you're probably not going to have too much of the ball, and that's just the way it's going to be in this formation. But make sure you play it to the strengths of the formation. And then the 3 strikers up top, Dalglish, Immobile and Cruyff, all on stay central and get in behind. That's basically the way you need to play with these guys. There's no point playing with Cruyff and that on balance, I don't think, personally. You can try it if you want. If you feel like you don't have enough width and you need a little bit more and everything's a bit predictable through the middle, then you can drop these guys onto balanced width and they will drift wide a little bit, and sometimes they'll stay in the middle. But I just find, for me, playing with them all on stay central, again, I've chosen a formation that's quite narrow, with left and right forwards rather than left and right wingers or left and right mids or left and right cams. So I've picked a narrow formation, so I have to play to the strengths of that narrow formation. But if you are someone who feels like you need a little bit of width in your team and you don't want to send the fullbacks forwards, then put Dalglish and Cruyff, put your left and right forwards on balanced width. They'll provide a little bit of width, they'll still get in. But these guys are going to score 95% of your goals, these 3 strikers, so you need to make sure they're quick, make sure they've got good finishing, and make sure they suit the way you like to play FIFA. Hence why the 3 I've selected work well for me. So that is it for the 4-3-2-1 formation. I think that is the first time we've reviewed this formation all year, and it is a good formation. Would I say it is a brilliant formation? No, I definitely don't think it's as good as it was last year. I definitely think with the way the game is this year, this formation doesn't work too well in my opinion, and hence why I've not really had too much use from it this year. But it is still a fun formation. If you want to give it a go, try it out with these tactics and let me know how it goes for you in the comment section down below. Make sure you subscribe as well if you are new to the channel, and make sure you do join the Discord down below if you are interested in FIFA as we prep towards FIFA 22 over the summer. It will be amazing to have some of you guys and your feedback. But that is it for today's video, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy. That's all for today, guys. I'm out.